I'm saying that and then remembering, and no, I think we're doing some quite familiar things. So on our backs, in a moment, we're going to remind ourselves of some of the different movements for the spine we can do. So I think, yes, if you settle down with, well, first of all, you could have your legs long if you prefer that. And let's just settle down, maybe 2 or 3 big sighing breaths and letting yourself arrive. And like Helen was saying, that's saying, you know, how does your body feel today? Might be particular areas. Aditi, we've talked about a few particular areas for you. Linda, the ankle. So yeah, however your body is today. And the first thing you could do would be to just let your head roll a little bit to the right and to the left. And I think last week we were thinking about neck and shoulders. So as you let your head roll to the right and to the left, feel that you're easing into the neck. You're letting the back of your shoulders settle on the ground. You're letting your arms rest, either your hands on your belly or your arms by your sides. And we're going to move a bit and then we'll come to feeling our breath, I think. So the first thing I'd like you to do, I will mute everyone, I think. The first thing I'd like you to do is bend your knees if your legs are long and stand your feet on the floor. And take a moment to feel the contact of the soles of your feet on the floor and to feel the contact of the back of your pelvis on the floor. And then that's it, Linda. Start to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. So this familiar movement that's very helpful, both for releasing tension, but also for helping us to have a sense of how our body is feeling. This might help you tune into the lower back, around the hip joints. Good. So a few more times, letting the knees tilt to the right and to the left. And if you're doing this and you notice any discomfort, so Aditi, for example, the groin, sorry, I'm still going crazy, then just do a bit less. So the most useful thing we can do is, if there is an injury or an area of discomfort, is to still move, but to do an easier movement. And then you're going to settle your legs down. So you could keep your knees bent. We're going to do one of those movements with the upper body, with the arms. So if you prefer lengthening your legs out, that might be quite helpful. But if you're more comfortable with the knees bent, keep the knees bent and the feet standing on the floor. So what I'd like you to do now is that movement where we take the arms up towards the ceiling and we touch the hands together in prayer pose. So you're making a triangle with your arms and then keeping your hands stuck together, keeping your elbows straight, start to rock this triangle to the right and to the left. That's it. And so let your head move with your arms. So you're rocking across your upper back, from the back of the right shoulder to the back of the left shoulder. That's nice. And again, keep it easy. So if you're feeling quite tight somewhere between the shoulder blade and the spine, then just go slow, do less. That's great. So a couple more times to the right and to the left. And then you can bring your arms down to rest. That's it, on the floor or hands on the belly. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then if your legs are long, you would want to bend your knees now. And come back to letting your knees tilt to the right and to the left. And see how that feels. And so sometimes when we've moved a bit in the upper part of the spine, it feels a bit easier when we come back to this movement. Might not be that we're going any further, but we might just feel it's all a little bit more fluid. So feel in this movement how your weight is rocking side to side across the back of your pelvis. Because then what I would like you to do is pause your knees in the center and start to tilt your pelvis up and down a little bit on the floor. So you're tipping your pelvis towards your head and away from your head. And keep these small movements. So you're not taking the whole of your pelvis off the floor yet. You're either tipping the bottom part of your pelvis off the floor, or when you arch your lower back, you're tilting the top of your pelvis off the floor. And just do that movement a few more times, keeping it small, feeling how when we tip the pelvis towards the head, the lower back flattens out. When we tilt the pelvis away from the head, we arch a bit more in the lower back. And then whenever you're ready, from the tilting your tailbone off the floor, you can carry on and go a bit further into bridge pose. So you now can let the whole of the pelvis come off the floor. And in your own time, 2 or 3 times, you're going to roll up and down into bridge pose and just sort of see how it feels. And keep it easy. Don't feel that you're pushing anything. And also maybe noticing as you roll up and down, you know, what do you feel in your spine? So do you feel tight in the lower back, or is it perhaps when you get a little bit higher up, do you feel tight in the spine between the shoulder blades? Or perhaps somewhere else completely. When you've done that 3 times, just rest down with your knees bent still and just let your pelvis settle on the ground. So I know you've finished. There's no rush. Good. When you have finished and you've settled your pelvis on the floor, let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then we're going to do a little bit more bridge pose, but we're going to alternate. So first of all, you're going to do these sort of opposite movements. So you're going to bring your hands around the back of your head, interlink your fingers. So this movement where as we exhale, we lift the head up, we gather the elbows in, we look between the legs, and you can also tip your tailbone off the ground. So the middle of your back presses down on the ground. Then come back down, release your arms and come up into bridge pose again. So let your arms rest on the floor. That's it beside you. Come back into bridge pose. And then we'll do this 3 times. We'll go back into that other movement where we're lifting the head. Now, if some of you prefer, you could also try the movement, and Nigel, you probably don't want to do this one, where you pick your feet off the floor and you fold your knees into your chest. So you're bringing your elbows towards your knees. So that's another possibility. That's it. And you stretch into your feet when you're doing that one. You stretch into your heels and your toes. Good. It just means you gather up a little bit more. So that's a possibility. And then you come back down and you go into bridge pose again. Good. So do this in total 3 times where you're opening through the front of the body in bridge pose. And then you're coming into that little, dare I say, sort of sit up type movement where the front of your body is gathering up and the back, your back is lengthening out. Yes, that's it, Sheila. Good. So when you're doing that one, stretch into your feet. That's nice. And when you've done this 3 times, we're just going to settle quietly with our breathing. And it might be quite nice to lengthen your legs out on the floor at this point, if that's comfortable for your lower back. If it's not, keep your knees bent. And bring your hands onto the front of your body. That's it. So legs long. If it's comfortable, bring the hands onto the front of your body. And just for a few cycles of breath, feel the breath moving through you. So feeling the breath coming in, feeling the breath leave you. And in lying there, if you feel that you would be more comfortable now with your knees bent, you can always do that. So a couple more times, feel the expansion of the in-breath and the emptying out of the exhalation. So we've done some twisting movements on our back. We've done some cat-like movements on our back. We're now just going to do a little bit of side bending. So what I'd like you to do now is to bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor. And then you're going to let your pelvis come off the ground just a little bit, an inch or so. And then trying to keep your pelvis level, you're going to move it from side to side. So definitely have your hands on the floor now, not on your pelvis, because not on the front of your body. The arms on the floor. And let your pelvis move to the right and to the left, but trying to keep it level, which isn't easy. And so sometimes it's quite good, helpful to bring the pelvis even lower, so it's skimming the floor. So you're sort of sweeping your pelvis on the floor to the right. Yes, that's very nice. Good. I can see that very clear view of yours going in there. To the right and to the left. So it's a little bit like when we're wagging our tail on hands and knees. This side to side movement of the pelvis. Sorry, the band is just out the front. Okay. Let the pelvis settle down for a moment. And then one last thing, which isn't about side bending, you're just going to, it's going to feel really nice, sink into your feet, lift your pelvis off the floor a little bit higher, and then let it drop back down. So can you lift your pelvis and then let it go so the pelvis drops back down onto the floor? That's it. So you don't necessarily have to lift it particularly high, might be a couple of inches, but what's important here is that so you're controlling the movement when you're lifting your pelvis, but when you let it drop, you're just letting it go. So if you like that one, do it a couple more times. That's nice, good. Let the pelvis lift and then drop it down onto the floor. And this is really good for releasing the muscles around the pelvis. Good. And then from here, you might like to fold your knees into your chest. If you don't want to do that, Nigel, you could lengthen your legs out on the floor. So fold your knees into your chest, hold around your knees, do a little bit of rocking from side to side. Yes, that's it, Nigel. You could roll your legs on the floor, bounce your knees. And those of you who folded your knees into your chest, you could also take your legs up to the ceiling and give them a bit of a shake out. Peace and quiet now. The cat's calmed down and the bin van's gone. So from here, we're just going to do a very simple thing. We're going to do a little bit more of these side bending movements on our side. So I would like you, from having your knees folded into your chest, to roll onto one side and settle yourself on your side with your knees bent. And maybe with your arm under the side of your head, if that's comfortable. And if that's not comfortable, you could put a cushion under the side of your head. So you just want to be lying comfortably on your side. So Aditi, I would probably have your knees a bit higher up. That's it. So lying on your side. Good. One arm under the side of your head if that's comfortable. Very nice. And then feel here the bottom side of your body. So you've got the bottom side of your rib cage. So one side of your rib cage in touch with the floor. And then you might remember this movement from a little while ago. Can you lift those bottom ribs off the floor and place them back down again? So if you imagine you're making a little tunnel under the side of your body. So you lift your bottom ribs off the floor and then place them back down again. Lift the bottom ribs off the floor, place them back down again. Oh, that's it. Yes, Aditi, I can see your shoulder moving in response to the ribs lifting. So it's quite interesting watching this because it's a small movement, so I can't see much going on, but what I did then. So very good. So maybe just do this once or twice more on that side and then have a couple of quiet breaths. Yes, beautiful. Very nice. Have a couple of quiet breaths. And you can, in your own time, then roll back onto your back for a moment and then on to your other side. So the other side may be, interestingly, maybe a bit less comfortable to lie on. You might have chosen the more comfortable side. So on to side 2. So settle on your side. So again, you settle on your side. You've got your arm under the side of your head maybe, or a cushion. Lovely. Sheila, you look very well set up there. I can see water and cushions, and it's very good. So the same thing on this side. Once you've felt the bottom side of the ribs on the floor, it's the side of the ribs, but it's the bottom here, then can you lift those bottom ribs off the floor and then place them back down? So it's a small movement. It's as if we're making a little tunnel under the side of the body. And what you might feel, what I was seeing in Aditi, is what you might feel is as you lift those bottom ribs, is in the top side of your body, your shoulder and your pelvis may move away from each other a little bit. That's it. Yes, I can see that happening in you, Jan, on this side. So as the bottom ribs lift, you might feel that the top shoulder and pelvis move away from each other. Good. Which means that as the bottom ribs lift and gather up a bit, the top ribs are opening out. So do that once or twice more on this side, and then have a few quiet breaths. And then because from here, we're going to be coming over into standing. So yes, Helen, do side 2 if you missed out side 1. So you could just be lying on your side, contemplating the prospect of coming into standing, and then eventually coming into standing. So I got you muted. It's a bit noisier here with year 6 children being back at school. So if it gets too noisy here, let me know. But yes, if you want to ask anything, just press your space bar. So we're going to come into standing. Just give yourself a moment to arrive in standing after lying down for all that time, feeling your feet on the floor. And we're going to do this. You can start off quite easy, this sort of loose swinging twist. You might not that sick. Start off quite easy and lazy, unless you're feeling particularly energetic. It is Monday morning, however. Oh, it sounds like some of you, as Sheila was saying, have been up very early. I must say I was in a very deep sleep. My alarm went off. Good. So as you can make this slightly bit more vigorous now, the arms can be slapping onto your body. That's just helping to wake you up a little bit if you are still feeling a bit sleepy. Good. A couple more times. Okay, and then we'll let that go. We'll settle back in standing, and we're going to see how it feels, quite sort of, say, tentatively, but yeah, to go towards the forward bend. So what we're going to do first of all is come forwards and rest our elbows on our thighs. So your knees are bent. You're letting your head hang, and just see, how does the lower back feel? What's it like to let the head hang? And if from here you want to go on and release your arms to the floor, you can do. Might be quite nice with your knees still quite bent. It's quite nice in your forward bend. You might want to see, what's it like to bend the knees a lot, so the chest comes close to the thighs, letting the head go, letting the arms go, just keeping it easy. And if the lower back feels that it needs that support, go back to bending your knees and resting your elbows on your thighs. It's amazing how quickly things can start to ease out. And then from your forward bend, wherever you are, let a breath come in, and as you exhale, roll up into standing. If your back is feeling really tight, walk your hands up the fronts of your thighs. And then once you end up in standing, and Linda, just see how your ankle is with this. We're going to be doing the one where you're rocking forwards onto the balls of your feet. So just, yeah. So Linda, if you feel it's, you know, don't do it if it doesn't feel right. The other thing you could do is to be doing this at a wall. Yeah. And anyone could do that. But if, yeah, I don't know how you feel. Might just unmute you. So a few times rocking forwards onto the balls of your feet. Linda, how does that feel? I've unmuted you now. Is that?
It's okay. It's if I put the weight on just that foot, it hurts. But if I've got both feet, it seems to be okay.
Okay, because we are later on, we're going to do a couple of one leg standing balances.
I'll just see how it goes.
Yeah, let's see how you go by that point. It might.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, we'll go a bit further with that in a moment. Maybe just see, before we come back, and we're going to do something else in a moment, just see how it feels to come up onto the balls of your feet and have a breath or two there, just with your arms hanging. Yeah, see how that is. Good. Come back down, give each leg a little shake out. We're going to go a bit further with that balance in a moment. And then before we come into another forward bend, I'd like you just to come up into this one where we do a bit of reaching up into one arm. And again, this becomes a bit of a side bend, so we shift our weight into one foot. So we reach up into one arm and then the other, feeling long down through the sides of the body. And we're going to focus a bit more in a moment as well on these side lengthening movements. But what you can do now is, when you're ready, sweep down into a forward bend. But again, once you've come into your forward bend, if you feel that you need to support your back by resting your elbows on your thighs, you can do. So in your forward bend, having a few breaths. You can experiment again with bending your knees a lot, so your chest comes close to your thighs. Can you let the head go? Can you let the arms go? Can you feel the weight of the shoulders is hanging down to the ground? And in your own time, letting a breath come in, sinking into your heels, rolling back up into standing. So when you come up into standing, it's entirely up to you. If you feel that you want to shake your legs out, you can do. If you quite like not doing that and staying planted where your feet ended up, you can also do that. We're going to come back into that movement when we come to balance. Let's just do a couple of times, coming up onto the balls of the feet. So a couple of times shift your weight forwards, just with your arms hanging. And then let's see how it feels to go up onto the balls of the feet and then take the arms out to the sides and up. Obviously, Aditi, just be careful of your shoulder and don't go to a place where it feels uncomfortable. So let the shoulders drop to our best ability. We're trying to feel steady and settled and let our breath flow through us. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave us. And then once more, as you come back down, you're going to sweep your arms down, let your heels come down all the way into a forward bend. And just seeing how your forward bend feels now. So when I was doing this yesterday, my back was feeling quite stiff. And I just thought, well, each time I came into the forward bend, something else released a little bit more, as long as I wasn't pushing it. So remember, there's always that option, bending the knees, elbows rest on the thighs, or bending the knees so your chest comes close to your thighs. In this forward bend, you could do a little bit of taking your arms, that's it, that weeping willow one, sweeping your arms to the right and to the left. That's another option. We'll do a bit more of that in the next forward bend as well. So pause in the centre, let a breath come in. As you exhale, roll back up into standing. And I'll just show you where you can see me. We're going to come into that balance again. This time when we take the arms up, we're going to touch the hands over the head in this one. So in Hakini Mudra, which we practiced in sitting last week, and then we bring the hands down in front of the chest, okay? So this is always, well, yeah, let's see. I really enjoy this one. It's a bit of extra focus. Let's a couple of times before we go up, just come forwards, up and down a couple of times onto the balls of the feet. So we're just really thinking about, yeah, I suppose finding some movement in the feet. Finding a bit of strength as well through the arches of the feet. So whenever you're ready, coming onto the balls of your feet, stay balancing there, let the arms come up in a big circle, and then that interesting moment, can we touch the pads of the fingers and thumbs together over our head? Let the shoulders drop, let the breath come in, let the breath leave you, and then you can bring the hands down in front of your chest. And have a few more breaths there, if that's possible. Good. Very nice. Lovely. Be here forever, couldn't we? But we won't be. So come down, have a little bit of a shake out. Let's let's do one more forward bend where you could do a bit more of that weeping willow movement. And again, hopefully the lower back is releasing out a bit more. So one, I would say last forward bend, but last in this little series. And in this forward bend, if you want to do that sort of side to side movement, trailing your fingertips, that's it, from side to side around the fronts of your feet. Make sure your heels stay really rooted into the ground. Letting your head go, letting your arms go. And then pausing in the centre, let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And as you exhale, roll back up into standing. So this time do have a little bit of a shake out, and you're going to now take your feet a bit wider. So we're going to do a bit more of these side lengthening movements. So if your feet come as wide, so I've got my feet as wide as the narrow edge of my mat. You just can't see because I've got two mats together. And from here, we're going to try this in a few different ways. So first of all, I'd just like you to do a little bit of going side to side. So one arm comes up, the other arm is heavy and relaxed. The pelvis can shift towards the raised arm side. So we're focusing really here on the movement of how it feels in our body. And then we could start to focus in a bit more on the breathing. So as you take an arm up, are you breathing in or out? So maybe notice. And if you were to coordinate the movement with your breathing, what would you do? When would you be breathing in? When would you be breathing out? And now this isn't some sort of test. I'm not trying to catch you out. It would just be just a little exploration or observation. And then we can also slow it down a bit. So we could stay here. So perhaps we exhale as we come into the movement, and then we receive an inhalation here. And then we could maybe exhale as we come back down. And it might be we breathe in as we come up again. And then we exhale in the movement. So it's like, how does it feel to stay and breathe? And maybe we'll do that once more on each side. So you might notice that you're breathing in or out as you come into the movement. And then as you stay there, you're either breathing in or out. So again, there's no right or wrong about this, but it's just noticing what's happening in our body and also feeling how it is to be in this movement and to breathe. And then, yes, if you're still playing around with that, you can do. But then it might also be quite nice to fold forwards here into a forward bend with your feet a bit wider apart like this. And you might also want to, I was just thinking it's quite nice to bend the knees in that one. So keep your weight in your heels, but quite nice to go forwards with the knees bent. Yes, if you want to do any little swaying from side to side movements, you can do. But sometimes we come into this one and we bend one knee and bend the other. So that's always a possibility. Or you might just want to be sinking into your heels, letting your spine tumble forwards. And then, yes, rolling up whenever you've had enough. And have a bit of a shake out. We're going to be now moving down into a bit of a sequence from the back of our mat and coming into some different things on hands and knees. So if you're wondering where dog pose is in all of dog poses today, we're going to be coming there very soon. So come to the back of your mat and we'll move through our sort of sun salute arms. So if you have your feet hip width apart and parallel, your hands in prayer pose, take a moment at the back of your mat just to feel your footprints on the floor, to feel the contact of your hands, to feel the breath in your body. And then letting a breath come in as you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Let your shoulders drop, and then from here, rounding forwards, curling forwards into a forward bend. Breath or two in your forward bend, and then walk your hands forwards into dog pose. So coming into dog pose for a couple of breaths. So we won't stay that long. A couple of breaths in dog pose, bending one knee, bending the other as you like. And then come down onto hands and knees. And so the first thing we're going to do on hands and knees once you've settled is a bit of wagging our tail, as we've been doing these sort of similar movements in standing. So on hands and knees, see how it is to imagine you've got a tail. We're thinking about a dog's tail, wagging our tail. Maybe slowly from side to side. Or a fish's tail, you're swishing from side to side. So that's side to side movement of the pelvis. Feel that one side of the body shortens and the other side lengthens out. And then you can do some cat movements here as well. So you can do a bit of rounding your back to the ceiling, dipping your spine down to the floor. I'll just come, yes, very nice, good. And just seeing how these movements feel. Today, at this point in the class, we've done quite a lot of other movements already. So maybe they feel a little bit less stiff than they might do when we do them very early on. And whenever you're ready, from a rounded up cat, you're going to rock your hips back over your heels into child pose. Now, Linda, I wonder how that is for your ankle. So, let's see. Yes, if it's not good, you can always lie on your belly rather than child pose. So, Aditi, how are you there? Because you don't look, yes, are you okay in child pose, or is that not good for the groin? I'm wondering for you, is that okay? I'm just going to unmute you for a moment. So because from here, so Aditi, you just tell me if we're going to be coming into lunge, and this is where I'm obviously for you and your groin, it might be helpful, but you don't want to push it. So have another couple of breaths in child pose. Child pose okay, actually, Linda, in the end, yeah. Okay. So from child pose, we're going to be coming back onto hands and knees. And we're going to be bringing one foot forwards into lunge. So Aditi, I would, make sure you've got your back leg as your better leg to start with. So you're going to bring one foot forwards. So come into this sort of normal lunge where your foot is in between your hands and your back toes are tucked under. Linda, again, you may have to just play around with your back foot. And I'm going to see how the front foot is. So we're in lunge. Then you could see what is it like to walk your front foot out to the side of it. So your hands come down into the centre. So you've got your leg out to the side, your hands down in the centre. Now, Aditi, the next bit I would not do on your bad groin side. If the bad groin is the back leg. So if you want to from here, you can tuck your toes under in your back foot and let the back knee come off the ground. So this is a bit more of a stretch for around the groin in the back leg, which is why Aditi shouldn't do, and that's the bad leg. So you're really leaning down into your arms here, as well as stretching back into your heel. And if you do that and you think, oh my God, that's awful, then come down, let the back knee come onto the ground, and we'll ease the front foot back in between the hands, and then come back onto hands and knees. And then come onto the other side. So I'm going to just turn around so it's easier for you to see. So bring the other foot forwards. So you start off with your foot in between your hands. You've walked your back leg away from you. You're having a few breaths there. Aditi, I'm assuming your back leg is the sort of troublesome groin leg, although it looks the other way around to me. Have a few breaths. And then if you want to, you can walk that front leg out to the side. The front foot walks out to the side, so your hands come onto the inside. And maybe the flats of the palms can come down onto the floor. And then if you want to, tucking the back toe under, letting the back knee come off the ground. So this is, becomes more of a stretch then around the front of the pelvis and the groin of the back leg. And have a few breaths there. So Helen might be quite good after you're walking, I would have thought, to be lengthening out here. And then let that back knee come down. Now, we're going to be coming into dog pose. So it could be, if you walk your front foot back between your hands, you could go straight from lunge to dog, or you can come onto hands and knees, plant your hands down, tuck your toes under, exhale, rock your hips up and back into dog pose. And just in this dog, have a few cycles of breath. Maybe bending one knee, bending the other knee. If you like, you could do that one where you roll onto the front of your ankle. I'm not sure whether that one is good for you, Linda, but you can experiment. So you roll onto the top of your toes. I think that's not what I said. Good. In one foot and then the other. And then from this dog pose, you're going to be walking your hands in towards your feet, so you end up in a forward bend. And in your forward bend, bring the backs of your hands together. Let a breath come in as you exhale, roll up into standing, trailing your hands up the front of your body, straight up to the ceiling. Let a breath come in and then take your arms out in a big circle. Very nice. All the way back down and around to prayer pose. So we're going to be going back down to the floor and doing a few different things. So a moment, feeling your feet on the floor, feeling the contact of your hands, feeling the breath in your body. And then letting a breath come in as you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Let the breath come in, and then as you exhale forwards into your forward bend. And then from your forward bend, when you've had a breath or two, on into dog pose. Big handprints on the floor, walking forwards into dog, having a breath or two in dog. Oh, we've now got some Casper the cat is joining us. And from dog pose, coming down onto hands and knees. So we're going to come into a slightly longer hands and knees position so that we can be rocking into face up dog. So this sort of longer hands and knees position. You can try a couple of times of what's it like just to let the pelvis rock forwards without going all the way to face up dog. So how is it to lean the weight into the arms and think about rocking the pelvis forwards, but not really going all the way there. And then what we'll do is come into face up dog by tucking our toes under. Sheila, if that doesn't, Linda, if that doesn't work for the ankle, then don't do that. Tucking the toes under, rounding the back to the ceiling, rocking the hips back over the heels. Letting a breath come in, and then as you exhale, traveling forwards by rounding your back to the ceiling. Watching your pelvis come forwards. I know this is very familiar to all of you, opening out into face up dog. And then reversing that. So starting to rock back, tucking the toes under, rounding the back, rocking your hips back over your heels. If you felt that you were a bit short in face up dog, slide your hands forwards a bit further here. And then as you exhale again, travel back forwards, rounding your back to the ceiling, looking at your pelvis all the way forwards into face up dog. Shoulders down away from the ears. Make sure your hands they might be quite wide apart, Helen, I'm not sure. So just check, you want your hands shoulder width apart for face up dog. Do that one more time. So rounding your back to the ceiling, rocking back, and then traveling forwards with a rounded back. Good. Yeah, that's, yeah, very nice. Good. Yes, lovely, Helen. Nice with the shoulders at that time. Brilliant. Okay, and from this face up dog, fold back into child pose for a couple of breaths. Settle back into child pose, or Linda, if that's not good, lying on your belly. I'd like you from child pose to come into, it could be an up kneeling. So again, Linda, you might want to be like this rather than sitting on your heels. So we can give the hands the shake out. So you can either be up like this. If it's comfortable to sit on your heels, sit on your heels. But if it's not, so come into a kneeling pose that's comfortable, either here or here. Shake your hands out. A little bit of this. Because we're going to do a bit of plank pose, you'll be thrilled to hear. So we'll come onto hands and knees. This time with the shoulders under the shoulders over the wrists. And maybe at this point, just try lengthening your leg out behind you and make sure you've got enough mat there. And do this on each side, lengthen each leg out behind you. So it's like you're doing half a plank pose, which is really easy. And then we just have to add the other leg in, which is not so easy. So one leg lengthens back behind you, your shoulders are over your wrists, and then add the other leg back in. Keep looking down at the floor, just a little bit further forwards down at your fingers. Have a few breaths there. You see, yes, very nice plank poses, everyone. Fantastic. Oh, amazing, very good, yes. You come down when you need to. Give your hands a little shake out again. And then we're going to do one more plank pose and take that plank into dog pose and then back through a forward bend and standing. So coming back down, big handprints. You want your hands to be shoulder width apart, wrists under your shoulders, lengthen one leg back, lengthen the other leg back. So again, have a few breaths in plank pose before you come into dog. It's always interesting to try to breathe in plank, not that easy. And then as you exhale, send your pelvis up and back. And you end up in a very long dog pose. So you might then like to walk your feet in a little bit, step your feet in a bit, until it feels a good length of dog pose. And then a few breaths in dog, maybe bending one knee, bending the other. And from your dog pose, you can then be walking your hands in towards you, all the way into a forward bend. See how it feels to arrive in this forward bend, all of the weight in your heels. And then touching the backs of your hands together, let a breath come in As you exhale, rolling up into standing, trailing your hands up the front of your body, straight up to the ceiling, letting a breath come in, and then a big circle with your arms. Good. Shake out if you want for your legs. We're going to do one more little sequence. Probably thinking, what on earth are we going to do in this one? But again, something slightly different. Linda, one thing, we'll have to see how it goes with the ankle again, and Aditi again with the groin as well. So hands in prayer pose. Feel your footprints on the floor, feel the contact of your hands, let the breath come in. As the breath leaves you, take your arms down and then up. Long and tall, letting the breath come in, dropping the shoulders, curling down into your forward bend. Let your head go. Feel those heels rooted into the ground, and then walking your hands forwards into dog pose. And having a couple of breaths in this dog pose. So you feel enough time that you feel that you arrive in dog, you feel your body in dog pose. And then you come back down onto hands and knees. So on hands and knees, we're going to revisit our tail wagging. So maybe come back to what we were doing in our first bit of hands and knees, imagining we have a tail and wagging it from side to side. And then you could also do little fishes, the one where we swing our feet and lower legs from side to side, so we're sort of swiveling on our knees. And you can do this slowly. If you go slowly, you can look towards your feet on either side of your body. And that sort of increases that feeling of one side of the body gathering up and one side lengthening out. And then you could go much more quickly with your legs, but don't look at your feet, otherwise you'll get dizzy. Or I just feel a bit sick. So you can swing your legs. Now, this next thing, Linda, let's just see. Might be fine with the ankle, but we'll see. What we're going to do is, you all know this one. We're going to do this one where we slide one knee forwards. So it's quite good for some of you. So it's this funny pigeon one where we're not in pigeon because the heel is under our bottom, and we go down onto our elbows, and then we do this rocking from side to side. I think you all know this one. So try this on one side and see how it feels, and I will have a little look at you. That's it. Good. That's nice. So be down on your elbows. That's it. Good, good. And let the pelvis, so it's again this sort of side bendy movement. The pelvis moves to the right and to the left. Very nice. Good. So this is actually, yes, Lindy, I don't know, is this the good ankle side? Yeah, see how it is on the other side? Because I mean, these movements are very good for the knees and the ankles and the hips, but yes, if we've got any particular issues, Aditi, I think it's not too much of a, if you were okay in lunge, this is not too much of a strain on the groin. Now, swap sides, so you're going to have the other knee forwards, which some of you might have done the easier side, and so you, again, the other knee is coming forwards, your heel, your starting point is your heel under your buttock. You're down on your elbows and forearms, and then you let your pelvis rock side to side over your heel and your foot and your lower leg. And if this doesn't feel so good on the second side, then obviously don't stay there. Come out. If you're okay, do this a few more times. There are lots of very interesting sensations in the body as we do this. And what we're going to do from here is we're then going to take the first leg back in front of us, and this time we will come into pigeon pose. So the difference is when you bring your front knee forwards this time, as you know, so the front knee comes forwards and your heel is now coming in front of the back leg thigh. So as I think you all know, so you bring one knee forwards, and this time your heel is coming in front of the opposite thigh. You walk your back leg away from you. And again, you might come down onto your forearms. I think might be quite a good place to be in pigeon pose. And again, if it doesn't feel good, if it's a bit too much, then come out. What I was quite liking when I was doing this yesterday is tucking my toe under in my back leg so I can rock myself sort of up and down the length of the mat. Or with your foot flat in the back leg, you could be rocking side to side a little bit. If your front knee is feeling the pressure, then let yourself roll a bit off to the side. So your weight goes all the way up to the pelvis in that front leg. So yeah, the front knee isn't happy, or equally if the ankle needs pressure to come off it. So wherever you are in pigeon, just having another few breaths on this side. So as we exhale, we're just giving the weight of the pelvis to the floor. We're trying to let the shoulders soften. And you can swap sides in your own time. You may say you could come out of pigeon by rolling onto your front leg hip. That's usually the best way to do it. Good. And then swap onto side two. So remember, your other knee now is sliding forwards and the knee comes out to the side a little bit and your heel comes in front of your back leg thigh. I will have a little bit of a look at you on this side, although I can't see all of you. So you could be, like I was saying, forearms, a little bit of rocking, whatever feels helpful. Good. So we're all managing. Well done, everyone. Good. Yes, very nice rocking, I can see. Yeah, you can rock, tuck your back toe under, rock yourself up and down your mat, side to side rocking like you're doing, Sheila, is very nice. Good. Breathing. And I'm sure this is very good after the big walk yesterday, stretching out around the buttocks. Yes, just what you want to be doing. So another couple of breaths on this second side of pigeon, if you can bear it. Jan, you look like you're enjoying yourself. So. And then what we will be doing in a moment is rolling out of pigeon, coming through dog pose and forward bend again, back up into stand. You can roll out onto that front leg. Okay. And coming back to hands and knees, planting your hands on the floor, tucking your toes under, exhaling, rocking your hips back and up into dog pose. A few breaths in dog pose. It might feel very nice after pigeon, a huge relief. So stay in dog as long as you like. And from dog pose, you'll be walking your hands in towards your feet, into a forward bend. See how that forward bend feels. And then rolling up into standing, touching the backs of your hands together, trailing your hands up the front of your body, straight up to the ceiling. Let a breath come in, and then exhale, take your arms out in a big circle. Very nice. Good. Have a little shake out. So come towards the middle of the mat. So Linda, we are doing a couple of one-legged standing balances. So on your bad side, you may need to go and stand by the wall and just be very unambitious, yeah? So it's probably good to be doing that, taking a bit of weight onto the ankle, but I would suggest, you know, stand by, have the wall beside you on that side. So let's see, let's start off. So I'd like you all to start on your easier side. So let's settle down in standing and close our eyes and just choose Aditi, I think, not sure, you'll have to, whether you go for the, see which you feel like going for. Yes, exactly. If you close your eyes and rock yourself from side to side and just see if one side feels a bit more willing, able, eager even to take your weight. And then what you're going to do when you open your eyes is start to shift your weight into that foot. And we're going to reach up through the arm of the foot that you're going to stand on. We're doing this balance. We're reaching up through the arm of the standing foot. Let the ball of the other foot come off the foot. Good. And then we're going to be catching the top of the foot we're not standing on, or the trouser leg. Yeah, so let that foot come off the floor, catch the trouser leg, catch the top of the foot. That's nice. Let your knee drop towards the floor. And just see how it feels to settle in this side of the balance. That's it. Very well, good. Let the knee drop down. Let your hand come down onto your breastbone. So we're not doing anything too dramatic here. We're just seeing, can we be quiet and steady, which in itself can be a challenge. Good. Feeling the breath come in, feeling the breath leave you. Let your shoulders drop down. We're trying to feel our shoulders are over our hips and our hips are over our heel. Very nice. Come down, have a little shake out. What was I going to say? Yes, so if this side is your not so good side and you want to use the wall, please do so. Start by reaching up through the other arm, starting to shift your weight into the foot you were just holding, onto the ball of the foot you just stood on. We're trying to sneak that other leg off the floor. And then how does it feel? Yes, and you might be doing a very small movement, Linda. You might just be bringing your foot, you might not even be taking the other foot off the floor. So it would be really unambitious. Good, and then bring your hand down onto your breastbone. Let your knee drop. Good, and see how it feels to settle here. As much as possible, we're trying to feel that we're in Tadasana, in standing. Come down and have a little shake out. So we're then going to come onto tree pose. So we'll go back onto our first side again, so perhaps our easier side. And remember, you've got all these options: foot on your ankle, heel above your knee, foot higher up your thigh. We're just doing something quite nice and familiar. But first of all, feel both feet on the floor, look at your feet on the floor. Even maybe close your eyes for a moment and feel yourself in standing. So in standing, we don't always feel that steady, but in standing, sometimes maybe it can feel sort of effortless and steady. And we're just trying to take maybe a little echo of standing into our balance. So with your eyes open, starting to transfer your weight onto your standing foot and deciding what you're going to do with the other foot. So ankle, just over the knee, or higher up on the thigh. So we organise ourselves from the waist down first of all. If the foot is sliding on the thigh, you've got to press it in or bring it a little bit lower. And gather the hands into prayer pose. So we want to try and feel quiet from the waist down. Good. And from here, if you are feeling quiet and steady, then your arms can grow out and then up, like the branches of the tree. Let the breath flow in, let the breath flow out. Feeling yourself in this position, fingertips growing up to the sky, heel rooted down into the ground. Centers of the palms soft, jaw relaxed. You could gather your hands back into prayer pose if you're still feeling steady. As you come down, have a little bit of a shake out. And we'll settle in standing for our last side of tree. And I think, again, Linda, just be really unambitious. It might be that you're up on the ball of the foot we just stood on. So you're not, you're not pushing that ankle in any way. So when you're ready, starting to transfer your weight into the other foot, wherever you're going to bring the foot you just stood on. If you're trying to keep your foot on your thigh and it's sliding a bit, you've got to really press the heel into the thigh. The heel presses into the thigh presses back onto the heel. Both parts of that contact are active. Hands come into prayer pose at the breastbone. See if we can find a quiet place there. If you do, the arms can grow out and then up. Letting the shoulders drop. Feeling the flow of the breath through your body. The hands can gather back down into prayer pose. Good. And then, yes, come down. A little bit of a shake out. So we're going to settle in standing just briefly, and we're going to do a little breathing exercise here. Actually, yes. So shake the legs out. Settle your feet down on the floor. And just for a moment, before we do the little breathing exercise, just close your eyes in standing. See how it feels. You may still feel a bit of difference between the two legs. This one we stood on may feel a little bit achy, a bit more present in our awareness. You can do a little bit of swaying from side to side. So for a little bit of, what was I going to say, a little bit of waking us up. I don't know, I don't think you're asleep. Anyway, for whatever reason, I thought we would do a little bit of our favourite lion breath here. So I will demonstrate as a reminder. So we make this roaring sound, we stretch our hands, we stick our tongue out and we roll our eyes up a bit like this. And we're going to do that 3 times. So turn the palms forwards and stretch into the hands. Tongue comes down to touch the chin, eyes roll up, so you don't need to see anyone. So let a breath come in. Good. Let the arms go for a moment. Let a breath come in. That's it. Let the arms go. And one last time, let the breath come in. And then just give the legs a little bit of a shake out. So it's quite like that one, just for focus and yes, waking ourselves up. So we're going to use that. We're going to take that into going down one last time through a forward bend, dog pose. If you fancy doing your one leg dogs, you could do, and then on into child pose. So come towards the back of your mat, rolling down when you're ready, letting the breath come in. rolling down into your forward bend. And then walking your hands forwards into dog pose. And it's up to you, but if you fancy any of those one-legged dog poses, you could do those now. That's it. So Linda, probably not on the bad ankle side. That's it. So if you are taking your leg up in dog pose, you can keep the pelvis level. You can let the pelvis roll and reach up into one heel. And you can also bend the knee of that raised leg and let the foot fall back behind you. That's it. So yes, if you're doing that one, Aditi, let your pelvis roll a bit more towards Nigel if you're bending your knee. So that's it. If you're bending your knee, you're sort of letting the pelvis turn upwards. That's it. Good. Very nice. And then whenever you want to, folding down into child pose. Just letting your body settle and soften and quieten on the floor. And feeling the movement of your breath in your body. Feeling the breath come in, feeling the breath leave you. So let's have 2 or 3 more cycles of breath here where we're just resettling, we're feeling the breath. So as the breath comes in child pose, we feel a lot of widening through the back of the body. And as the breath leaves us, we can let our body soften and settle down on the ground. So one more cycle of breath, feeling the breath coming in, feeling the breath leaving you. And then I wanted us to do this last week, and I think we ran out of time, so I thought we'd have the pleasure of doing it this week. So coming towards the front of the mat, bit of this one where we start to lean back. So all this one, we're really trying to think about letting the back round out. So this is our starting point at the front of the mat. And the first part we're going to do is just looking down and sliding the hands from the feet to the knees, and you're looking down. And then as you come up again, you can look forwards. So do this a few times. So as you slide your hands to your knees, look down towards the floor and then your belly. And then as you slide your hands back, you could look forwards. Maybe you still keep looking down in this one, possibly. Yeah, maybe in this one we just look down all the time. So do this a couple more times. Just keep looking down, sliding the hands to the knees and then back to the feet. Thinking about the back of the body rounding out. And then we can go a little bit further. You'll be thrilled to hear. So we can then let our feet come up and we roll back. And then we look forward. So that's the point when we look forwards, to bring ourselves up at this point. So we're looking down at the belly. And then we look forwards to come back up. So just do this a few times. And the more times we do this, the smoother it becomes. And so remember, when we're going back, we're trying to balance somewhere on this part, and you can always bring your hands there, somewhere on this sort of part between the ribs and the pelvis. That's ideally where we're trying to balance. But it's probably going to be very different in each one of us. That's it. So we're going back. We're looking forwards to come up. We're going down. We're looking down at the belly. Looking forwards to come back up. And I know what you're all waiting for is to do those lovely ones for the abdominals. So we can roll back, we can look at the belly, and then we can lengthen out the legs. Bend the knees, come back up again. We'll do that one twice if you can face it. Aditi, I don't know if it's aggravating the groin thing, don't do it. It might be that you just don't straighten the legs. Might be fine with the knees bent. So not an easy one to stay in, not an easy one to speak in. One last time, and you'll get to lie down from this last one. So rolling back. Oh. And then you can, yes, let yourselves collapse down onto the floor. And we're going to do a few movements here, but first of all, just have a couple of breaths and maybe hands on the front of your body, feeling the belly is nice and relaxed now after those movements. So just, yeah, a couple more cycles of breath, feeling the movement of your breath in the front of your body, particularly maybe in the belly. And if your legs are long, you could bend your knees now and stand your feet on the floor. And come to a little bit of letting your knees tilt to the right and to the left. So like we did at the beginning of class, and see how this feels. Very nice. So a couple more times, letting the knees tilt to the right and to the left. Lovely, looks very nice. And then let the legs settle. You could, I think, keep your knees bent, keep your feet standing on the floor, but try not to let the knees move with this next movement. You're going to come back to making that triangle with your arms that we also did towards the beginning of class. That's it. So you're reaching your arms to the ceiling, you're touching your hands in prayer pose, and then you're rocking side to side across your upper back. That's it. But not letting the knees come along with this. Good. So you can always lengthen your legs out, but you probably don't need to. That's it. Very nice. Let the head move with the arms. Good. We'll do that once, twice more on each side. And then let your arms come to rest on the floor beside you. And then 2 or 3 times, settling your feet on the floor very well. I'd like you to roll up and down into bridge pose and see how that feels. So, yes, Nigel, I was wondering whether your feet need to be slightly wider apart. See how you feel. That's it. So obviously we did bridge pose close, near the beginning of class, and seeing how it feels now. Can we feel very planted into our feet, picking the spine up off the floor and then placing the vertebrae back down again. Can our shoulders feel settled on the ground? But can we feel that perhaps some of the vertebrae between the shoulder blades are able to come off the floor? Maybe, maybe not. Yeah, is the movement of bridge pose able to come up towards the upper spine a little bit? And when you've done 3 bridge poses, you could hug your knees in towards your chest. Good. We've got a little bit, well, I say we've got a little bit of a choice now. If you don't have any wall space, Sheila, then there isn't a choice. Well, so if you have wall space, you could do a bit of rolling up towards shoulder stand with your feet on the wall. But the thing I was going to suggest you do, and if you're not sure, you can roll over and have a look at me. But we've done this in previous weeks, is where we alternate between. So what you'll do is you'll do a bridge pose. You'll roll up into bridge pose. And then you come back down from bridge. You fold your knees into your chest. And then you press, as you exhale, you press down into the floor through your arms. And you bring your knees towards your forehead. And then you come back down, you do another bridge. And you do that movement again. And the third time, you go into shoulder stand. But obviously, if you're doing this in the room and your knees don't come towards your forehead, you might be better off having your feet on a sofa or the wall, okay? So I hope that's enough. I'm going to unmute people just in case you have any questions. So if you want to be unmuted, some of you need to unmute yourselves. Otherwise, yes. So wherever you are, so that's it. You press that, so very nice. And then you can just support your pelvis with your hands, Linda, in that one. That's it. Support your pelvis with your hands. So you do that 3 times. You alternate. Then you come back down. You do bridge pose again. That's it. So when you come to that one, Sheila, support your pelvis with your hands again for a moment. That's it. Now, Elaine, I can't quite see what's happening with you. So if your knees are not coming to your forehead that way, you can, but they may well be. I can't do. Yeah, you can unmute yourself if you like, because I can't.
Yes, I don't
so
think
how are you getting on there, Elaine? Is that working for you?
Not as much as doing shoulder stand away
you okay?
Against the wall.
So yes. So when you've done this rolling between bridge pose, very nice, Aditi, and then bringing the knees towards your chest and then the knees towards the forehead. Lovely, Nigel. The third time you come into that position, you can go into shoulder stand. Very nice. Yes, Helen, I think that's probably very good for you after the long walk to have your legs up in the air. Now, Sheila, that's it. I was going to say your elbows could come in a little bit more. This is always, yeah. Good. So think about in shoulder stand, you're trying to have your hands, your little fingers either side of your spine. So the more your hands can come around towards the center of your back, the more stable you'll feel. And that will actually bring your elbows in as well. Yeah, that's looking better, Sheila. Well done. Good. When you're in shoulder stand, that's nice, Elaine. The other thing that's nice is to stretch up into your heels. So you imagine you're standing on the ceiling. You don't necessarily want to stay like that the whole time. Jan, well done. I know it's not your favourite, especially this time of the day. So, good. Good. Yes, Aditi, don't push it because I can see it's a bit challenging on that shoulder side. So, that's it. So one of the things with shoulder stand is quite nice to come into for a few breaths, not necessarily feel that you've got to stay there too long. And the benefits are often when we come back down. We just lie quietly. Maybe let the head ease from side to side. And we're going to finish with a few twisty movements. If you're still enjoying your shoulder stand, Elaine, it looks rather wonderful from the bit I can see here from your lower leg downwards. So we're going to finish with a few twisty movements on our backs. And the first one is with the knees bent and the feet standing on the floor. And just as we've done a few times, letting the knees tilt to the right and to the left. And then from there, let the feet come wider apart so they're as wide as the narrow edge of your mat. And then carry on with tilting your knees with your feet as wide as the narrow edge of your mat. And in this one, if it's comfortable, you could also use a cushion to support your knees. If it's comfortable, let your knees go all the way down to one side. If one of the knees is hovering a bit, then most of you look, I can see cushions. I can see cushions in your room. Exactly. If one of your knees is hovering a bit, grab one of your cushions, support, that's it, without overstretching somewhere else. Support your knee with your cushions. And then let your head roll in the opposite direction to the knees. And have a couple of breaths there. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And yes, you can come back to a little bit of rocking. And when you're ready, you can also take the knees down to the other side, using your cushions if you like. That's very nice, lovely. So when you're ready, let the knees come down to the other side. And then you let your head roll in the opposite direction to the knees to help that shoulder settle on the ground a little bit more. Let your breath come in, let your breath leave you. Now, in a moment, if you like, we're going to do one more twist. It's called Jatara. It's the one where we fold our knees into our chest. But Nigel, if you don't want to do that one, you could repeat this one again on either side because it looks really fantastic. So yes, so it's up to you. If you want to do the twist where you fold your knees into your chest and you wrap one arm around the back of your thighs. So remember, you support your legs with one arm and the other arm comes out at shoulder height. Now, it might be helpful again to have cushions nearby to go under your legs. So yes, if you want to do this one, fold the knees into the chest. If you don't want to, you could repeat the wide-legged one on each side. So if you're doing the knees folded in, you fold your knees into your chest, you support them with one arm, the other arm stays on the floor at shoulder height. And then as you exhale, I've got Otto now visiting us, as you exhale, you bring your knees down to the side, not where your arm is, the other side. Yes, that's it, Sheila, sorry, move the cushion over, good. So we're trying to keep our shoulder on the floor and our knees are going down towards the floor on the other side. Good, and if a leg is hovering, actually, that looks very nice actually. If a leg is hovering, or both legs are hovering, either you have a cushion between your knees or a cushion under the legs. So you want to feel the shoulder is heavy, the legs are heavy. Have a couple of breaths here. So this twist is very good for mobilizing the rib cage. Good. I'll just have a couple of breaths on this side and then we'll swap sides in this twist. And obviously, if you feel you need to come out sooner than I say, do so, because sometimes this twist can feel a bit intense. So when you're ready, do come back to the center. Sometimes that's when it feels more intense. Come back to the center, have a breath or two, and then move. Yes, that's nice. You can take your legs up to the ceiling. Helen, very nice. Shake them out. And then move on to side 2 of the twist. So swapping your arms over, swapping your cushions over. So make sure you remember that you're trying to keep one shoulder heavy on the floor. Yes, Aditi, just try and find a place where that arm can be okay. If it's there resting on the sofa, if that works for you, that's good. Supporting the knees with a cushion or with your hand, or if that's, yeah, that's better for you. Can you settle, while I'm swapping sides, Nigel, can you settle through the shoulder, through the legs, and have a few breaths there. Sometimes the arm feels more settled if we have the arm down by the side of our body, which is fine as well. So let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And when you're ready, in your own time, come back to the centre. Settle down on the floor. So anything you want to do in terms of lengthening legs out on the floor towards the ceiling, exactly. Just before we settle, we're just going to settle with our breathing for the last few minutes. So just settling comfortably. Settling comfortably on the ground. Maybe, well, if you like, you can rest your hands on the front of your body. Make sure you're warm enough, although I think it's quite nice and warm today. If your neck feels that it needs easing out, you can let your head roll a little bit to the right and to the left. So you can feel the movement of your breath in your body wherever it feels most obvious to you. Maybe have a couple of cycles of breath with your awareness focused on the movement of your breath in your body. And then take your awareness to the points of your body that are in contact with the ground. So starting with the back of your head, feeling the contact of the back of your head on the floor. And then the back of the shoulders, letting the shoulders settle on the floor, down to the elbows, and then depending where your hands are, letting the hands settle. And feeling the back of your rib cage on the ground, maybe some of the points of your vertebrae, the back of the pelvis, all the way down to the heels. And as you lie, sensing your body in contact with the ground, sensing the movement of the breath through your body. You can also be aware of the air on your skin, sounds, both near and more distant. In a moment into the field of your awareness, I'm going to introduce the sound of the singing bowl. So just let these sounds come to you. When you reach the silence at the end of the third sound, then you can start to move when you're ready. So thank you, everyone. Take your time, there's no rush. I'm just going to turn off the recording.